Hey guys, it's Nick. Thanks for tuning into Long Island Wargaming for a 3,000 point rematch game between Dave and myself. And I'm going to be using the same exact list, and I'll breeze through it quickly. But Dave is using the dwarves that he recently purchased on eBay. And he made some modifications to his list from the last game that we played, and we'll see how it goes. There's also 2 to 3 different issues that we came up with rules disputes, so I'm going to post them during this video, and there's going to be an opportunity for you to chime in and let us know what you guys think and your interpretations. So we went with the 8-foot table again for shits and giggles. Dave's kids put down the terrain, so they set it up like so, and you can see we ended up using only 6 feet of the board anyway. So let's get into the dwarf castle here. From left to right, we have a cannon. We have longbeards with, I believe, hand weapon and shield, organ gun, hammerers, organ gun, a stone thrower behind, a unit of 30 quarrelers, another cannon, and then a flame cannon. All the different war machines have runes on them, and there's a BSB, a rune smith, another Thane, and I think a 4th hero somewhere in there, and they all have different runes and weapons and armor and stuff, so they're all decked out. So here's my army. I kept it a lot closer together because last time everything was too spread out and stuff was getting shot and panicking off the board. But from left to right, we've got 9 bulls with a command, 4 Mornfang with a command, a unit of 9 Iron Guts with a command, and then in the Iron Gut unit is the Slaughtermaster, the Tyrant, the Bruiser, and the Firebelly, so Ogre Death Star there, Gut Star. I have the Stonehorn with the Harpoon Launcher on top, an Iron Blaster, and then a unit of Lead Belchers. Over here to the far left, I have another Iron Blaster and one of the two Saber Tusk. This Saber Tusk I'm going to throw after the cannon. Hopefully he doesn't get shot up and panics the Lead Belcher, the Iron Blaster, because that's something that would happen. But at least what we're doing here is I can get a flank shot down the unit of Quarrelers, and at least he's able to move up and get flank shots if possible. I took advantage of the fact that that building is kind of in the middle of the castle here, the dwarf castling, so that unit of warriors all the way to the left is going to have to move around a bit, and the organ gun's kind of having some line of sight issues with the building, and all my stuff is further into the middle of the board, so I think I'm going to be in good shape of staying clear of those 2 war machines and units. You can see at the top of the middle of the board, I've got some man-eaters that show up with Scout, and they're going to be 12 inches away from that flame cannon and hopefully survive long enough to go charge it and kind of run through the war machines and hit the quarrelers at some point. For magic, I forgot to mention, I have Bone Crusher, which is the magic missile, kind of useless. I got Spy Marrow, Stubborn. I've got Bullgorger, +1 strength, and then I got Trill Guts, regen. So the dwarves get turn 1 with their +1 to go first, because literally he had like 4 drops with the war machines and the units and the heroes. But is this the end of the game already? And that's the question that Dave posed to me, because he got turn 1, but both of his cannons went to shoot at the Iron Blasters, and he got hits, he scored hits, and then he rolled 1s to wound. And the fact that those cannons weren't able to disable or at least harm my counter cannons efficiently, that really sucked. And then the flamethrower on the edge of the table there rolls a 2, which is the only roll he needed to miss, except the misfire, to miss those man-eaters, which would have been easy kills. It would have been 3s to wound, then D3 multiple wounds, and then maybe would have held off a little bit longer from a flank charge in there. But that's what sucks when the artillery kind of really shit out on you. The organ guns did a couple wounds to the Iron Blaster to the left, but a cannon shot would have been able to completely knock it off the board. So is that the end of the game? Is the failed artillery going to cost Dave the game? And we'll see. Let me know what you guys think below before the game is even finished, because you can see there's still plenty of dwarves on the table, and they're scary as hell, but there's still full unit strength of ogres. So let's go on into ogre. So here we have the charge of the man-eaters onto the flame cannon. There's supposed to only be 3 man-eaters. I put down 4 for some reason, but it doesn't really change the game. I remove the 4th guy as soon as I look at my list and realize. And over here we have a mad dash with the cat towards the cannon. And here's my movement. At first I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know if I wanted the Iron Guts to go around the left or right side of the well, but I decided Mornfang are going to move up, the Bulls are going to be stuck behind them, the Lead Belchers are out of range of everything, so they're just kind of sneaking up from behind. Stonehorn goes forward, and the Iron Guts decide they're going to swing around and maybe hit the Quarrelers and then kind of flank through the army that way. Also, I forget that there's some frenzied units in the Ogre army, and that's the Gorger and the Stonehorn, which I'm using in both lists, so I missed some frenzy tests. Again, I don't think it really changed the game whatsoever, but those are going to be some things I got to keep in mind if I keep playing a list like this. One of the cannons goes ahead and destroys the organ gun right here, and then I was supposed to jump into the stone thrower for a double shot, but it didn't go all the way through. The left Iron Blaster gets a hit on this cannon, but only does 2 wounds, so there's 1 crewman left. The Flame Cannon, I go ahead and kill on impact, essentially, and then run into the cannon. And this is the only picture I have from Dwarf Turn 2, because I guess with limited movement, no magic, and only shooting, I didn't have too much to take pictures of, and/or I might have forgotten. But this is what happened. I killed a cannon, and then I overrun 4 inches. So with Swift Strad, I get 3 2s. I actually don't hit the Quarrelers, which kind of sucks, because now he can light them up if he decides to do so. But yeah, that's interesting. So Ogre turn 2, the Gorger shows up, all bloody as hell, and then I've got the cat that goes ahead and moves right past both units so that he can either go for the war machines to the left or help out the Gorger in killing the stone thrower if in case he dies and doesn't, which is unlikely. The man-eaters go ahead and charge. When it comes time for combat, I realize they have got extra hand weapons, but there's only 3 guys, so like I said, I'll remove that extra guy. And here's the rest of my movements, or lack thereof. The lead belchers move up. Um, the Iron Guts, they either fail charged against the Quarrelers. I might have went up for a bomb charge. I don't know. Otherwise, I think I'm just going to be moving them around. And the Mornfang did not go in the hammers because they're full strength hammers. There's no reason to go in and sacrifice my troops. So, at least those troops. The sacrifice will be the man-eaters. The man-eaters made their points back, so they're going to go in, do some impact hits, and try to kill as many Quarrelers as possible to weaken them up for the Stonehorn and the Iron Gut Star to come through. Over here, I did make a successful charge here onto the cannon. The wound that he already has was from the organ gun, so it's only going to take 1 wound for that dwarf to kill him. And he does, despite the fact that I've got 3 attacks at 4's to hit, 4's to wound, and I go first. This dwarf ends up killing the cat. Backing up to magic, I did get Spine Marrow onto the Man-Eaters just in case they whiffed. I would have Stubborn, but it doesn't matter. I end up killing like 12 guys here. Don't sure I remember which magic phase it was, but I do try to get Area of Effect Troll Guts when it comes to all those war machines shooting at me. But he dispels it with his scroll and eats it, so I lost my regen spell. So we jump back to Dwarves. This is his turn 3. The only error that I think he really made early game was not moving the warriors to the left a bit sooner, but they're chugging along now to get over here into the battle. And the organ gun also, which has no targets because the Iron Blaster I backed up out of the range, has taken a single turn to move into the building, so it's susceptible to getting shot up by my cannons, but at least he can get something in range and start lighting some of my crap up. The cannon that I failed to kill with the Saber Tusk goes ahead and kills off this Iron Blaster. The Man-Eater dies, and then these guys go ahead and reform. And that's it, really. You can see that this is the battlefield into Ogre turn 3. I do not get a charge with the Iron Guts on the Quarrelers or the Mornfang onto the Hammers, which is good for the Mornfang because you know what, he has 2 runes of slowness, so my guys didn't really get far whatsoever, and it was kind of a silly charge to make. The Iron Guts, though, I really wanted to get them into the Quarrelers so I can get behind there and then be able to approach the Hammers on 2 fronts. The issue is the Iron Guts, they failed their charge, but they also got counter shot, so a few of the Iron Guts die, which is not a big deal. The cat goes around left to go deal with the cannon that's on the side, or maybe charge the Iron Blaster in the building if I don't kill it this turn. And we have the Gorger that goes ahead and charges the Stone Thrower. So I'm doing a pretty good job of eliminating his artillery. You can see the crossbowmen. Side note, I think these are the Mantic Games crossbowmen, not the ones that GW sells, so if you're interested in checking those out, they look pretty cool on the battle table. The organ gun does get taken out by the Hellblaster. And for some reason, I don't think the Gorger is able to kill all of the crew, and they're stubborn, so they go ahead and stick. Into Dwarf turn 4, we can see that the infantry blocks are getting into position for some combats. Iron Guts get shot down by some of the Quarrelers. And then the Gorger goes ahead and finishes off the crew member for the um, Stone Thrower, and then goes ahead and reforms to face this way, which is a question that we kind of were talking about. Is he allowed to do that? The Gorger is a frenzied unit, and I know frenzied units have to overrun or they have to pursue. But if they destroy a unit outright, aren't they able to just reform the position they want to, or are they stuck forward? I know we cruised through the rulebook quickly, but we didn't find the answer we're looking for, so maybe you guys can help us below. Again, the question is, if you're not overrunning and you're not pursuing, do frenzied units have to go forward after killing a unit outright, like we just did there with the Stone Thrower? So into Ogre turn 4, the cat to the left charges that cannon, last piece of artillery to knock off. The Mornfang, I believe, back up. I'm really not looking at getting into combat with those hammers, and I don't have anything to worry about at the moment because of the fact that there's nothing left to shoot me. The Stonehorn and the Gorger both go into the Quarterly unit, and then there's no room for the um, Iron Guts to get through because the well and the back of the Stonehorn are not big enough space for them to clear. Magic, I shoot a fireball to the hammers, but it doesn't really do anything too effective, and then I do go ahead and kill this cannon and reform to face the battlefield. So with the 3d3 impact hits and Thunder Stomp and a handful of attacks, Stonehorn does go ahead and kill most of the Quarrelers. The Gorgia helps out, of course. And then here's the next question, and it all has to do with freaking Frenzy today. The two remaining Quarrelers flee, and we roll high enough to catch them, but where do we go? Frenzy has to overrun, and I know you flee from the largest unit, but we only have units of one here, and then Frenzy, when these two units run into each other, they just stop an inch apart, do they not? Should they have gone a different direction? I mean, this was very weird situation. We didn't know how to handle it, so I just marched both my guys forward, and then they stopped an inch away, which, when you look at this picture, creates an issue because now I can't get the Iron Gut unit through. But this is Dwarf turn 5. I get charged by the hammers onto the Mornfang. I issue a flee because they need to get impact hits to be worth the extra damage that they can cause, but 3 Mornfang are just going to get destroyed, and what's going to happen is the hammers would wreck them and then overrun out of the line of sight of the Iron Guts, which is something I really don't want to happen. I want the Iron Guts to be able to see him because that's where all my heroes are, and I need to be able to kill that hammer unit to score some huge points. And then you can see on into my turn 5. There's not enough room for the star to get through with this freaking iron. With the Stonehorn there, so even though I can see the hammers and I can charge them, they're only X amount of inches away. Despite the rune of the rune of slowness that has been causing issues all game, I'm gonna have to wait until movement to get these guys into position. And then here are the positions I end up making. The two monsters go around to the back. The Gut Star is able to see the flank now of the hammers, and my lead belchers are going to be facing off against them. They're going to take some shots, but that's it. The bulls, I back up. They're not going to do any. I mean, they've got a handful of attacks, but they're just going to get wrecked by anything they're in combat with. So instead of sacrificing the points, I hang on to them. I do make sure I get these Iron Guts close enough here to go ahead and do my breath weapon. And I go ahead and kill about 5 hammers doing so, which is... I'll take it. I'll take it. And then for Dwarf turn 6, and this is the last opportunity for you guys to chime in, when it comes to failed charges, so he's going to go ahead and charge these lead belchers. The lead belchers are going to flee. I don't want to fight them, and I want to keep the hammers in range and vision of the Iron Guts. So when you get a failed charge, it says move forward the highest die roll. It doesn't say it doesn't say move it like a successful charge. It says move it forward, which I interpret as the wheel counts as the inches rolled, because I've seen it in battle reports and in live play where if you roll 1, then you know what, you just wheel 1 enough to face the enemy as much as possible. In a successful charge, I know it mentions that you can get a free 90-degree wheel. So, and I even looked around online, and people have been debating on whether it's measured or not. So I say a false charge, a failed charge, you have to measure the wheel. And that's how we played it out, and I think that's the right interpretation of the rules. Let me know if you guys say otherwise. So with that being said, the lead belchers flee, and then nothing else happens in dwarf turn except now we go into ogre turn 6, where I go ahead and issue charges across the board, bulls into the back of the the longbeards. Which isn't a big deal for him because he's got an oat stone, so he drops it so he can parry across the board. But they're also fighting the Stonehorn and the Gorger, and then the Star goes ahead and attacks the flank of the hammers, which is, you know, the flank was exposed because of the failed charge. And I mean, we talked about it, and Dave wants to learn from his mistakes. But I said, like, listen, if you didn't realize that was going to happen, you can turn around and face the Iron Guts. I don't care. But no, he wants to learn the hard way, which I know I wouldn't, but I mean, I commend him for that. So, but with that being said, all my stuff is fleeing because of all the charges that I ran away from. So I lose the points for those units. Iron Blaster has nothing to shoot at. And in here, I got a whole bunch of impact hits. I kill 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 impact hits between the bulls and the Stonehorn. I got a few ogre charges throughout this game, which was excellent. That really, really helped out. So I'm going to start grinding away these guys. And I kill them down to the 1 rank, and since we each have a rank, he is no longer steadfast, and because he would be steadfast with like leadership 10 rerollable, but I get him down, so I'm ready to. I lose the Stonehorn. Obviously, the Stonehorn is here dead, but I do go ahead and kill this unit and reform to face the Hammerers, which really is pointless because this is the last turn, but you could see that due to the impassable terrain and the way that this is all set up, I only get 2 of my heroes into combat against the Hammers, but at this point, all he's got left is the Hammers and some heroes, which is a huge chunk of points, but you know what? The Gut Star is alive with 4 heroes, and it's, full strength points. So we call the game here. We don't even bother rolling this up, but it was a pretty fun game. A couple of issues where we didn't know how to rule things, but right off the bat, Dave thought he lost the game just based on the fact that his cannon sucked. And he wasn't pissed about it because that's the way the dice rolls. And he's okay with that, but he's like, well, if my cannons can't do shit at the beginning of the game, I'm not going to be able to really keep up. But that was it. I hope you guys enjoyed this game. And what's next for Dave? Well, Dave's going to take a break from me, and he's going to go around the rest of the circuit with the Long Island Wargaming guys. So next up, he's going to be playing, I believe, Kyle, my cousin Kyle, against his Lizardmen. And then Dave will probably go ahead and proceed to play Ryan against Wood Elves with either the Dwarves or maybe even do a Wood Elf mirror matchup, which I think is interesting choice because to me it just feels like 40k. It's just whoever shoots the other person down first. But and then there's 4 of us going up to the Crossroads, so we're going to get some practice games in soon. 2,500 points. I'm leaning towards Skaven, and hopefully that's what's going to be the case. But since Dave's going to be playing his a bunch of other guys, I might be playing his kids next game. So we'll see how that goes. A little 2v1 should be interesting. I think they're going to be bringing, I believe it was High Elves and maybe vampires or something like that. But I'll be bringing Skaven and Ogres because that's what I have. That's the most painted of. So I hope you guys enjoy this, and we'll see you in the next video.